I was never the pretty one. That's what they told me since middle school. Too dark, too big, too much of everything people thought should come in smaller sizes. I used to laugh it off. When you grow up in Atlanta, you learn that confidence is currency. But no matter how loud I laughed, it never covered the quiet voice inside whispering, "You're not enough." That day started like any other, too early, too rushed, and too heavy with other people's needs. My cousin Sade had texted me at 6 a.m. "Girl, don't be late for the dress fitting. You promised. Bring your card, too, in case the deposit doesn't go through. Love ya." That love ya at the end was her usual sugar before the cut. But I went anyway. I always go. When I walked into that fancy bridal shop in Brookhaven, the air smelled like flowers and money. The kind of place where mirrors don't just reflect you, they judge you. And I swear, the moment I stepped inside, every head turned. Not because I looked amazing, though, honestly, my lavender wrap dress did me justice that day, but because I didn't fit their idea of who belonged there. The sales lady gave me that smile. You know the one. Polite, but tight. Like she's trying not to show how she really feels. "Can I help you?" she asked, her tone already saying, "You probably can't afford anything here." "I'm with the bride," I said. "Oh," she replied, and her eyes said, "Of course you are." Sade and her friends were already in the back, giggling, sipping champagne, living their soft life fantasy. When she saw me, she squealed, "Amara, you made it!" She air-kissed me twice but never touched me. Sade always made sure people saw she was hugging me, without actually doing it. She looked stunning, I'll give her that. Slim, flawless, like she stepped out of a music video, and she loved reminding me of it. "Girl, you look cute," she said, scanning my dress. "That color's bold for you. You're brave." Her friends laughed into their glasses. I smiled, the kind of smile that hides a scream. "Lavender's my color," I said. "It's peaceful." Sade hummed. "Maybe it's a little too peaceful." And they laughed again. I wanted to disappear, but I promised her I'd be here, so I stood there, holding her purse while they tried on dresses that cost more than my rent. I told myself, just breathe, girl. You're here for her. This ain't about you. Then, out of nowhere, he walked in. The boutique door chimed and everyone's tone changed. He wasn't the kind of man you could ignore. Tall, quiet confidence, expensive suit, calm eyes that noticed everything. The manager rushed to him like a storm in heels. "Mr. Hale, the designs are ready." Mr. Hale. That name hung in the air like money. Sade whispered, "Oh my God, that's Marcus Hale. He owns half of Midtown. He's here." Her friends started fixing their hair right there in the mirrors. And me? I just sipped my water and pretended not to care. But then it happened. His eyes met mine. Not in that shallow, look at the big girl kind of way. No, this was different. He looked at me, like he saw something he recognized. It threw me off. Nobody ever looked at me like that. He walked past, talking to the boutique owner about remodeling the property, and for a second, I wondered if people like him even lived on the same planet as me. The laughter behind me snapped me back. "Amara, come on, try on a dress for fun," one of the girls said, holding up a size 6. Sade giggled. "Yeah, Amara, let's see what it looks like on you." Then another chimed in. "We'll tug a little. It might fit if we pull hard enough." They laughed so hard I swear the mirrors fogged up. I felt my cheeks burn, but I just said calmly, I'm here for the bride. Let's focus on her. That shut them up for about 3 seconds. One of them smirked. Aw, don't be so sensitive. We're just playing. And I thought, yeah, you're playing. But it's always me who gets bruised. When we finally left, I paid Sade's deposit. Again. Because her fiancé's card declined. She kissed my cheek and said, "You're the best, cousin. I'll pay you back soon." Spoiler, she never did. On my way to the car, the boutique door opened again, and Mr. Hale stepped out. He nodded at me, polite, measured. And maybe I imagined it, but I swear there was something in his eyes. Not pity, not curiosity, just respect. That small gesture stayed with me the whole drive to work. I worked for a logistics company downtown. Nothing fancy, just a gray cubicle, flickering lights, and a boss named Derek who thought compliments were currency. He called me Amber half the time, even though my name's Amara. That day he leaned on my desk, eating mints like a nervous teenager. "Hey, Amber, I need that inventory report before 6, okay? Oh, and big news, the building's being evaluated today. Might be new ownership." He grinned like he personally owned the company. I nodded. Sure thing. At 5:30, the whole office suddenly came alive. People spraying perfume, adjusting ties, gossiping. Some big investor's coming, real estate mogul or something. And just as I thought it, Derek strutted over with a group of strangers behind him. And there he was again. Marcus Hale. I swear my heart stopped. "Amara, right?" he said. He remembered my name. I froze for a second, then shook his hand. His palm was warm, steady. People like him don't usually shake hands with people like me. Derek started bragging about my work like he'd trained me himself. "She's a miracle worker," he said, patting my shoulder. "Once she polishes the presentation side, she could even handle clients." He meant once she loses weight. He didn't have to say it. I could hear it in his voice. Marcus just looked at him quietly, then turned to me. "What's your title?" he asked. "Operations analyst," I said. He nodded. "And if you could change one thing about this company, what would it be?" Nobody ever asked me that before, so I told the truth. "I'd pay vendors on time," I said. "And stop pretending one person can do 3 jobs just to make the numbers look good." Silence. Derek laughed nervously. "She's funny like that." Marcus didn't laugh. He said, "That's a very good answer, Ms. Johnson." After the tour, I stayed late finishing my report. Everyone else went to a bar. I finally showed up an hour later and Sade was there too with her fiancé, showing off her ring again. She shouted, "Amara, you came! Take a picture with me!" I forced a smile, the kind you use to survive. Out on the patio, I leaned against the railing, staring at the city lights. And then, "Ms. Johnson," a voice said behind me. I turned and there he was again. Marcus Hale. No suit jacket now, sleeves rolled up. Eyes soft, but sharp. "I don't drink on math days," he said, holding out a glass of water. "Thought you might want one too." I laughed quietly. "Math days. I'll remember that." He said, "You were impressive today." I shrugged. I was just doing my job. He smiled. "That's what impressive people always say." Then he looked at me. Really looked. Not like a man assessing, like a man listening. "I meant what I asked earlier," he said. "What you'd change. You notice things others ignore. That's rare." "Rare doesn't always pay the bills," I said. He chuckled. No, but it gets you noticed by people who do. He pulled a business card from his pocket and set it on the railing. Hale Properties, it read, simple and white. If you ever want to build something of your own, I listen well. Then he left. I just stood there. Nobody had ever said something like that to me. Nobody had ever looked at me like I was more than background noise. Inside, Sade was yelling my name again. Amara, come take a selfie. I went in, smiled, and stood beside her. She leaned in and whispered, Girl, that dress again? You really don't care, huh? I smiled at the camera and said, Not anymore. That night, driving home, Atlanta lights blurred in my rearview mirror. For once, I didn't feel small. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. This is Marcus Hale. Thank you for the tour. If you ever want to talk about building something of your own, call me. I didn't reply. Not yet. I just smiled and whispered to myself, One day, they'll all wish they hadn't laughed. And I meant it. It was Saturday night, the kind that made Atlanta hum. Street lights buzzing, grills smoking, music leaking from every open window. Sade had invited the whole family to her new townhouse for a little dinner before the big wedding. When she said family, she really meant an audience. I almost said no. My week had been a storm. Derek taking credit for my report, the usual snide comments about big energy for a big girl. But Mama asked if I'd come. She said, You know how she gets if you don't show, baby. So I went. Her townhouse was all white marble and fake smiles. Every candle smelled like vanilla arrogance. The moment I walked in, Sade's friends looked me up and down like they were scanning for a barcode that didn't ring up right. Amara! Sade screamed, voice syrupy sweet. You made it! Everyone, this is my cousin. She's in logistics. The way she said it made logistics sound like a disease. People nodded politely, then turned back to their wine. I found a corner near the kitchen and helped Mama with the food, same as always. Mama whispered, Smile, baby. You look beautiful tonight. I smiled because Mama needed to believe it. Dinner started with toasts. Sade's fiancé, Trevor, gave a speech about success and compatibility, using more buzzwords than emotion. Sade dabbed fake tears. Then came her favorite part, public comparisons. So, cousin, she said, swirling her wine, you still at that warehouse job? It's a logistics firm, I said. Oh, right, she giggled. Same thing though, right? Boxes, forklifts, all that strong stuff. Laughter. I kept my voice steady. We manage over 8 million in product flow every quarter. Her friend smirked. Wow, that's so practical. Practical. The polite word for unglamorous. Trevor chimed in. You ever think of doing something different, Amara? Like something more creative? No, I said. I like building things that actually move. He blinked, confused. Sade jumped in. Well, not everyone wants a corner office, babe. She smiled sweetly at me, then turned to her guests. Amara's just grounded. She doesn't chase big dreams. Grounded. That one landed. The table laughed again, and even Mama tried to soften it with a little chuckle. I stared at my plate and said nothing. Then the photos started. Sade wanted group shots, wanted the world to see how perfect her life was. She made everyone pose in front of the Love in Bloom sign she'd hung above the fireplace. When it was my turn, she said, loud enough for everyone to hear, Come on, Amara, let's get your good side. Oh, wait, you have two. Laughter exploded around the room. For a moment, I couldn't move. Mama's eyes went wide, her fork frozen midair. Sade smiled, realizing she'd crossed a line, but instead of apologizing, she raised her glass. "All love, cousin. You know I'm just playing." I forced a smile. "Of course. You always are." The laughter faded, but the damage was done. My chest felt tight, like my ribs were shrinking. I went to the bathroom, locked the door, and stared at myself in the mirror. My reflection looked tired, but not broken. Not yet. I whispered, "You don't have to take this forever." My phone buzzed on the sink. A text from an unknown number again. "Hope your day's treating you kind. M.H." For the first time all night, I exhaled. Someone, somewhere, saw me differently. And that tiny thought cracked the shell they'd built around me. When I came out of the bathroom, the laughter had already moved on to someone else. That's how it always went. You became the joke. They fed on it, and then they forgot. I took a breath, straightened my dress, and went back to the dining room. Mama gave me that look, the one that said, "Please don't make a scene." And for once, I didn't. I just walked over to Sade, leaned close so only she could hear me, and said, "You've got a mean streak hiding under all that makeup." Her smile froze. I smiled back. "Don't worry. The world's about to see it too." Then I picked up my purse and walked out. The room went quiet behind me. Someone whispered my name, but I didn't turn around. Outside, the night air hit me like a baptism. Cool, honest, cleansing. The sky was deep and full of noise. Cars, laughter, distant sirens. The kind of noise that makes you feel small and powerful at the same time. Mama caught up to me on the porch. "Baby, wait," she said softly. I turned. The porch light made her eyes shine. "I'm sorry she did that," she whispered. "You know how she is." I shook my head. "No, Mama. I know how I've been. Always quiet, always polite, always paying the deposit." She sighed. "You're just kinder than she deserves." I smiled sadly. Kindness ain't working anymore. She looked at me for a long time, then nodded. "I see you changing, Amara. Just don't lose your heart, okay?" "I'm not losing it," I said. "I'm finally using it." She hugged me tight, real tight, like she wanted to press every apology she couldn't say right into my skin. Then she went back inside. And I stood there, alone under the streetlight, thinking about every time I'd laughed off an insult just to keep peace. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Marcus Hale. Didn't mean to text twice, just wanted to say, "The world doesn't get to tell you your size." I stared at those words for a long minute. They hit something deep, something I'd buried under jokes and fake smiles. I wanted to reply. I wanted to say thank you, or, "You don't know how much I needed that." But all I did was save his number, under Marcus H., like it wasn't already branded on my thoughts. I drove home in silence. The city lights looked different now, less like reminders of where I didn't belong, more like signs pointing somewhere I hadn't dared to go. When I got home, I kicked off my shoes, sat on the edge of the bed, and let the night settle around me. My apartment was quiet. 1 bedroom, 2nd floor, walls the color of old paper. I liked the quiet. It was the only place where I didn't have to perform. But that night, silence wasn't peace, it was echo. Every voice from dinner replayed in my head, every laugh, every dig. And underneath all of it, a new voice whispered, "You could leave this behind." My eyes landed on the business card on my nightstand. White, simple, expensive. Hale Properties. I picked it up, traced the letters with my thumb like they might answer me back. I thought about calling him. Then I thought about what Sade would say if she found out. About Derek's smirk. About everyone who'd decided I was the side character in my own story. I opened my phone. The screen glowed blue against the dark. I typed his number. My thumb hovered over call. The seconds stretched. My heartbeat felt loud in my throat, and then I hit cancel. Not yet. Not like this. Tomorrow, maybe, when the fear feels smaller than the chance. I set the phone down and whispered to the empty room. They don't know it yet, but I'm done being the quiet one. And for the first time, in a long time, I smiled. Not a polite smile, not a survival smile. A real one. Because deep down, I already knew. The next time I saw Marcus Hale, my life wouldn't look the same. For 2 days, I stared at that white business card like it was some kind of portal. Every time I picked it up, I felt the same tug between fear and wanting. I'd come home from work, kick off my shoes, open my laptop, and almost dial him. Almost. By Wednesday night, I'd run out of excuses. The house was quiet. The kind of quiet that makes you face yourself. Mama had called earlier to tell me Sade's bridal shower was trending on Instagram. "Your cousin's going places," she said gently, not realizing the knife behind those words. I told her I was happy for Sade, and I was, just not in the way she thought. I took a breath, picked up the card, and dialed. 1 ring, 2. Then his voice, low and calm. "Marcus Hale." My mouth went dry. "Hi, it's Amara Johnson from Stateside Logistics. He cut in softly. "I know who you are." The way he said it, like he'd been waiting, sent a small shock through me. I swallowed. "Sorry if this is late. I just wanted to talk about that consulting thing you mentioned." There was a pause on his end, then a smile I could hear. "Late? Ms. Johnson, I've taken calls from clients at midnight. This is practically early." I laughed before I could stop myself. "Then I guess I'm on time for once." "I like people who show up," he said, "especially when they're not sure if they should." Something about that line felt like it saw right through me. I leaned back on the couch, tracing a circle on my thigh with one finger. "So, what exactly would consulting mean?" "Looking at systems the way you do, seeing what's broken before it breaks." He paused. "I have a redevelopment project downtown, old manufacturing space. I'd like your brain on it." "My brain?" I teased. "That's a first." "Amara, you have a way of translating chaos into logic. That's rarer than money." His voice dipped lower. "And I trust you more than half the men who send me proposals." My pulse jumped. "You don't even know me." "Don't I?" Another pause. A quiet hum of city noise through the phone. "Sometimes you can tell who someone is by the way they stand in a room that's trying to erase them." I didn't know what to say to that. Nobody had ever put words to the exact way I'd lived my whole life. He saved me from replying by switching tone, brisk again. If you're free Friday, come by the Hale Properties office at noon. We'll walk through the plans. I hesitated. Friday's fine. Good, he said, then, lighter. Wear something comfortable. Not for me, just for you. There it was. Not heavy, not obvious. Just enough heat to make me forget the world for half a second. Comfortable's my specialty, I said. I've noticed, he replied, and I could hear the grin in his voice. When we hung up, I just sat there staring at the wall, smiling like an idiot. My chest felt warm, not from romance exactly, but from being seen. It was the first conversation in years that didn't leave me smaller. By morning, that warmth turned into courage. I walked into work with my chin a little higher, my steps slower but louder. And of course, the universe noticed. Derek leaned on my cubicle, chewing his mint like a metronome. You look chipper, Amber. Big date or something? Just work, I said. He smirked. Right, work. If he only knew. At lunch, I checked my phone. 2 missed calls from Sade, 5 messages from her group chat. Sade. Girl, I heard some rumor you trying to work for that Hale guy. Tina. Wait, what? The one with the buildings? Sade. Yeah, apparently she met him at a dress fitting. OMG, this city's small, FR. I stared at the screen, feeling that old instinct to shrink, to explain, to apologize. But then I thought of his voice last night. Steady, certain, unbothered. I like people who show up. I typed back, me. Rumors travel fast. Don't worry, I'll confirm when the check clears. I hit send and set the phone face down, grinning. By Thursday afternoon, the rumor had legs. At work, people stopped whispering when I walked by. I'd catch my name floating above the cubicles like perfume. With him? Maybe she's exaggerating. She's sweet, but come on, Hale doesn't hire amateurs. It used to sting when they said things like that. Now it just sounded like static behind glass, because I knew something they didn't. I wasn't asking for permission anymore. Derek called me into his office that afternoon. His door was already half closed, that fake friendly signal he used when he wanted to sound concerned. Amara, he started, trying my name on like it was new. I heard from someone downtown you've been in touch with Hale Properties. Any truth to that? Depends who's asking, I said. He forced a chuckle. Funny. But seriously, don't get your hopes up. Guys like that, big shots, they like collecting projects, not people. I just don't want to see you disappointed. I smiled. Thanks for worrying about me, Derek. I'll take the risk. He leaned back, eyebrows raised. Risk? You know, sometimes stability is better than chasing fairy tales. Sometimes, I said, standing. Stability is just another word for fear. He didn't have a comeback. For once, I walked out before he could finish his mint. That night, Sade decided to FaceTime me mid-makeup tutorial. Cousin, she said, her voice high and fake sweet. Girl, is it true? You working with Marcus Hale now? Her fiancé leaned into frame, laughing. That the real deal or a LinkedIn fantasy? I felt my smile stretch slow. It's a meeting, not a marriage proposal. Sade gasped theatrically. Oh, she funny now. Look at her. New job, new attitude. Her friend shouted from the background. Ask her if he's single. I didn't flinch. If you want to know, Come to the building tomorrow at noon. Maybe you can bring your resume. The screen froze for half a beat. Then Sade burst into that high, uncomfortable laugh. Okay, boss lady. Look at you with your confidence. Just catching up, I said, and hung up. The next morning felt different. The city had that soft gold glow that makes even cracked pavement look new. I took my time getting dressed. Black slacks, cream blouse, hair pulled back clean. Nothing fancy, but everything intentional. I didn't wear heels. I wore shoes that let me stand my ground. When I reached the lobby of Hale Properties, the air itself seemed expensive. Cold marble, quiet jazz, people who moved like they belonged. I checked my reflection in the glass wall. Steady eyes, shoulders back, lavender lipstick just enough to remind me who I was. My phone buzzed one last time before I silenced it. A text from Sade. Good luck, CEO. Try not to trip in those flats, I typed. Don't worry, I don't fall anymore. Then I dropped the phone in my bag and walked toward the elevator. Each step echoed on the marble like punctuation. People glanced up from their phones, then away again. No one stopped me. No one questioned if I belonged. The elevator doors slid open, polished steel, bright reflection. I stepped inside, pressed 14, and felt the soft lurch upward. The mirrored walls threw my image back at me from every side. For once, I didn't look smaller. I looked centered, present, possible. Halfway up, I caught my own eye in the glass and whispered, "Let them talk." The door slid open with a quiet chime. I saw the nameplate ahead, Marcus Hale, Executive Office, and a figure moving behind the frosted glass. My heart kicked once, hard and clean. I adjusted my blouse, squared my shoulders, and walked forward. And just as my hand touched the door handle, the scene froze. Because whatever waited on the other side wasn't just a meeting. It was the moment everything would start to change. The elevator opened to a corridor of glass and silence. Every surface gleamed like it had a security clearance. People here didn't walk, they glided, holding tablets and confidence like weapons. I followed the sound of voices until I reached a receptionist desk made of white stone. "Ms. Johnson?" she asked before I could speak. "Mr. Hale is expecting you. Conference B, last door on the left." My heels clicked across the polished floor. Through the glass wall I saw him. Marcus Hale. Dark suit. No tie. Sleeves rolled once. Leaning against the long steel table while 3 men in tailored arrogance surrounded him. He looked up as I approached, and just like that, the whole room faded. "Ms. Johnson," he said, smiling. "Right on time." "Figured you'd appreciate that," I replied, stepping inside. "Always," he said. "Gentlemen, this is Amara Johnson, the operations analyst I told you about." 3 pairs of skeptical eyes scanned me. One of them, a gray-haired architect with a designer pen, raised an eyebrow. "She's logistics?" Marcus's smile didn't waver. "She's the reason half this city's warehouses still function. Let's get started." He gestured for me to sit beside him, and as I did, our arms brushed. A small contact, accidental, maybe, but the current that ran through me wasn't. He smelled faintly of cedar and something darker, like smoke and decision. The men began talking over blueprints projected onto a wall, square footage, margins, deadlines. I listened, taking notes, watching how they all spoke louder whenever Marcus turned toward me, as if to drown out whatever he might see in me. Finally, one of them said it. I'm just not sure someone from operations will grasp the creative side of this redevelopment. We're repositioning luxury, not organizing pallets. He smiled the kind of smile that always preceded an insult. You understand, right, Miss Johnson? The old me would have smiled back and let it pass. But before I could open my mouth, Marcus spoke. What I understand, he said evenly, is that this project is bleeding $500,000 a month because none of you can calculate distribution costs. He leaned forward, voice low but lethal. Ms. Johnson can. That makes her the most creative person in this room. The silence that followed was so sharp I could hear someone's pen click. I felt every heartbeat in my body. When his eyes met mine, there was no apology, just pride. Go ahead, Amara, he said softly. Show them what you see. I stood, my palms dry, my voice steady. Your luxury problem isn't design, I said. It's distance. Every supplier you use sits 40 minutes outside the delivery radius. That's not elegance. That's inefficiency wrapped in ego. The gray-haired man blinked. I tapped the screen remote, bringing up the heat map I'd built overnight. Shift your vendor network 5 miles south. You save $200,000 in fuel and storage. Use those savings to reinforce the facade material you keep arguing about, and you'll get your luxury look without a single investor complaint. For a full second, no one breathed. Then Marcus chuckled, slow, approving. Gentlemen, I believe Ms. Johnson just redesigned your profit margin. He turned to me, his voice low enough for only me to hear. Remind me to hire you before someone else figures out they need you. I smiled. You already did. He grinned. True. The meeting dissolved quickly after that. Numbers don't argue when they're naked. The men mumbled polite acknowledgments and filed out, leaving the two of us alone amid the blueprints and glass. Marcus slid his hands into his pockets, watching me the way someone watches an unexpected sunrise. You do that often? He asked. What? Walk into a room full of men who underestimate you and rearrange the architecture of their confidence. I laughed. Only on weekdays. He stepped closer, close enough for his voice to drop. I meant what I said before. You're wasted where you are. I'm working on that, I said. He tilted his head. So am I. The way he said it, low, certain, wasn't just business. It was promise. Then he glanced at his watch. There's another meeting starting in 10. Stay. I want them to see you when they walk in. Why? Because nothing confuses old power like new truth. He smiled again, this time slower, warmer, and for the first time in my life, standing under all that glass and light, I didn't feel like I didn't belong. I felt like the room was adjusting to me. When the last door closed behind the investors, the whole floor seemed to exhale. The buzz of voices, the clicking pens, the low hum of the projector, all gone. Only the city remained, spread beneath the glass like a silver ocean. Marcus turned from the window, the skyline blazing behind him. That, he said, was fun. I laughed. You call that fun? Watching people choke on their own assumptions? Absolutely. He leaned against the table, arms crossed, eyes tracing my face like he was cataloging details he hadn't been allowed to notice before. You didn't just impress them, Amara. You rattled their sense of order. And I liked it. I didn't come here to rattle anyone, I said. I came here to work. Then we're both lucky, he replied. I enjoy people who make work impossible to ignore. The air between us shifted, less boardroom, more current. He pushed away from the table and walked to the espresso bar by the window. Coffee? I don't drink coffee. He raised an eyebrow. Then tea? Water? Compliments? I smiled. You're better at the last one. He chuckled quietly, poured himself a cup anyway. I'm serious, he said. When I asked you to join the redevelopment team, I expected competence, not presence. Presence? The way you walk into a room and gravity changes. That's dramatic. I build towers for a living, he said. Drama's my second language. He handed me a small folder. Inside were blueprints, contracts, and a printed offer letter with my name on it. Consultant, 3-month term, full pay, executive access. I looked up. This is real. I don't do hypotheticals. Something in my chest tightened. Not fear this time, but wait. People will talk, I said quietly. They already are. You don't care? He smiled. I have an allergy to small opinions. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The city filled the silence. Car horns below, wind against glass, the slow rhythm of something beginning. I closed the folder. I'll think about it. He stepped closer, close enough that his voice lowered without getting softer. Think fast, Amara. Opportunities don't wait, and neither do I. I met his eyes, brown, steady, warm. For the first time in my life, I didn't look away. Maybe I like making powerful men wait, I said. He laughed, a low, genuine sound. Then you've just become the most powerful person in this room. Our eyes held for a long beat, too long for business, long enough for truth. He gestured towards the glass door. Come on, let's get you a badge before someone else tries to claim you. I haven't said yes. You will. And somehow, I knew he was right. We walked down the corridor together. His pace matched mine, not faster, not leading, just beside. When we reached the elevator, he pressed the call button and said quietly, You know, they'll ask how we met. I'll tell them I paid for my cousin's dress deposit. He smiled. I'll tell them it was destiny disguised as poor timing. The elevator doors opened. He held them for me. Friday, 9 a.m., he said. First design review. Don't be late. I stepped inside. Wouldn't dream of it. The doors slid shut, sealing the air still warm with his laugh. As the numbers blinked down, I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall. I looked different. Not smaller, not hidden, just alive. I whispered to myself, let them talk. Because whatever they said now, I had finally stopped listening. The first rumor reached me before lunch. It came through a Slack message from a girl in marketing. Hey, just a heads up. People are talking. Something about you and Mr. Hale. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. It didn't take a genius to trace it back. Sade had always known how to start a storm. By afternoon, the whispers had faces. Colleagues leaning closer, smiling too long, asking how consulting was going with that little wink that stripped the word of its dignity. At the coffee station, one of the analysts said, "Must be nice to have powerful mentors." I looked right at him. Must be exhausting to need excuses. He pretended to laugh. I didn't. That night, my phone buzzed again. A group chat notification. Sade's bridesmaids. Screenshots of me walking into the Hale building. A caption, "CEO's new favorite." And Sade's message underneath. "Just hope she remembers who she is." I closed the chat without replying. But anger has a heartbeat, and mine was loud. The next morning, the tension had teeth. Even the receptionist's smile felt rehearsed. I walked straight to the glass-walled conference room where Marcus was already talking with 3 department heads. The air was crisp, corporate, stainless steel, and silence. "And this narrative about favoritism," one of them was saying, "is starting to distract staff. Optics matter, Marcus." I froze in the doorway. They hadn't seen me yet. Marcus's voice cut through the room, sharp, controlled. "Optics?" he said. "You mean gossip dressed up as concern?" The man cleared his throat. "We just want to maintain professionalism. She's new. And people might think—" "People can think," Marcus said, stepping forward. "It's the only exercise some of them get." The man flinched. Marcus didn't stop. "Let me make this clear. Ms. Johnson earned her seat at this table. If anyone here believes otherwise, I'll happily review their quarterly results next to hers. Spoiler alert, she wins." Silence. You could hear the city hum through the glass. Then he turned, saw me standing there. For a heartbeat, his expression softened, then hardened again. Not at me, but for me. "Amara," he said, "come in. Apparently we're discussing your competence. Might as well have the subject present." I walked in, slow, steady. "Should I take notes?" "No need," he said. "This meeting's about to end." He looked back at the others. "If I hear one more comment, one more whisper that disrespects this woman, you won't have to worry about optics. You'll be looking for offices with cheaper rent. Clear?" They nodded. No one breathed. He added, quieter, colder, "Dismissed." When the door shut behind them, the room exhaled. Marcus ran a hand through his hair, the edge in his voice melting into something softer. "Sorry you had to hear that," he said. "I'm not," I replied. "I've waited my whole life for someone to talk to people like that, just not usually for me." He smiled, almost shyly. "Then maybe it's about time." For a moment we just stood there, the city blazing beneath our feet, reflections crossing the glass. I realized then that the rumor hadn't damaged anything between us. It had burned away the last of the pretending. When the door closed behind them, the quiet stayed. I could still feel the echo of his words in the glass, sharp, protective, certain. For once, someone had raised his voice not to silence me, but for me. Marcus looked at me then, all business gone from his eyes. "You shouldn't have to fight every room you walk into," he said. "I'm used to it," I answered. "That's the problem." He moved closer, slow, deliberate. The space between us turned electric. "I don't usually step in like that," he said. "I know," I whispered. "That's what made it matter." For a beat, neither of us moved. The hum of the city filled the silence. Then he exhaled, a half smile breaking through. Amara, I like the way you handle yourself. I like the way you think, and, if we're being honest, I just like you. It wasn't a grand speech. No promises, no theatrics. Just truth dropped into the space between us, steady and warm. I didn't answer right away. My heart was too loud for words. I should probably get ready for the investor review, I said at last. He nodded, grin tugging at the corner of his mouth. Good. Remind them why they're lucky we found you. Us, I corrected. Lucky they found us. By noon, the boardroom was packed. Partners, investors, assistants juggling tablets. I'd been given 20 minutes to justify a multi-million-dollar decision. Switch suppliers, change routing, save the project. Half the people there were waiting for me to fail. Marcus sat at the far end of the table, calm as gravity. Ms. Johnson, he said, you have the floor. I stepped up to the screen. My hands were steady this time. Let's talk about profit, I began, and the real reason it's bleeding. Slides changed. Numbers flashed. I spoke about routes, cost curves, timelines, then about respect. You can spend another quarter arguing aesthetics, I said, or you can fix the math that funds them. Luxury isn't marble. It's precision. No one interrupted. Not once. When I finished, there was that sacred kind of silence that comes before applause but feels heavier than it. Then Marcus tapped the table once, slow. Gentlemen, he said, that's how you build something that lasts. The room followed with a wave of claps, real, not polite. The architect who'd mocked me earlier actually stood to shake my hand. Impressive work, Miss Johnson. When the meeting ended, Marcus caught my eye across the crowd. He didn't smile big, just a subtle nod that said, see? And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I'd won despite who I was. I'd won because of it. Outside, the afternoon light hit the glass walls and threw my reflection back at me. Strong, calm, exactly where she belonged. People in the hallway looked, whispered, wondered. But this time their whispers tasted different. They weren't laughing. They were calculating. As I walked toward the elevator, my phone buzzed. A new message from Sade. Saw the article. Congrats, cousin. Guess you really did it. I smiled. Guess I did. The elevator doors opened, bright steel and sky beyond the glass. I stepped inside and caught one last glimpse of the office. Of him. Marcus stood at the window, hands in pockets, watching, as if he already knew this was just the beginning. The doors slid shut on the sound of applause echoing down the corridor. 6 months can change everything. That's how long it took for whispers to become silence, and for silence to become respect. The project we'd worked on with Hale Properties broke records. Magazines called it the rebirth of downtown Atlanta. News outlets mentioned my name, half by accident, half by awe. At first, they said, Marcus Hale's consultant. Then they started saying, Amara Johnson, project director. And finally, just Amara. It didn't happen overnight. There were still looks, still small minds trying to shrink me. But I'd learned something dangerous. Once you know your worth, they can't unteach you. The company threw a gala to celebrate the project's success. All glass, champagne, and cameras. The kind of place I used to avoid. But this time, I walked in on Marcus's arm. The murmurs started immediately. Is that her? She looks incredible. She's with him? I wore a deep emerald gown that didn't hide a thing. Not the curve of my shoulders, not the softness of who I was. And for once, I didn't want to hide. Derek was there too, of course. He'd transferred to a smaller firm after losing 2 clients, one of them poached by Marcus himself. He tried to act casual when we passed, holding a drink he didn't need. "Amara," he said, his smile trembling around the edges. "Didn't think you'd remember us, little people." I smiled back. "Oh, I remember everything." He cleared his throat. "No hard feelings about before, right? Business is business." I tilted my head. "Then let's keep it that way." Marcus appeared at my side just then, hand gentle but firm at my waist. "Everything all right?" he asked. "Perfect," I said, eyes still on Derek. Marcus followed my gaze, then gave Derek the kind of look that could file a resignation letter all by itself. "Enjoy your evening," Marcus said coolly and led me away. The next encounter came a week later. Family dinner at Mama's house. Sade was there, of course. Same tone, same laugh. Only now her ring finger was bare. Apparently Trevor had decided he needed space 2 weeks before the wedding. Instagram said he was finding himself in Miami. She tried to act fine. "So, Mrs. CEO," she said, forcing a grin. "Still building buildings?" "Still building," I replied. "Only now they've got my name on them." Mama chuckled softly. "She's being modest. There was an article about her yesterday. Front page." Sade's smile faltered. "Oh, that's great." "It is," I said. "And don't worry, I'll still help with your dress deposit, if you ever find a man who stays." The table went quiet. Mama almost choked on her sweet tea. Sade's cheeks flushed deep red. "You really changed, huh?" I met her eyes. "No, I just stopped apologizing for existing." Dinner ended early. When I left, Mama hugged me tight. "I'm proud of you, baby." I smiled. "You were proud before. The world's just catching up." That night, Marcus called. He was out of town on business, but his voice still carried that calm that made my shoulders drop. "Your mother likes me now," he said. "She liked you before she met you," I teased. "You're the kind of man mamas pray about." "And what about you?" I hesitated. "I'm still figuring out how to pray for something I already have." He laughed softly. "That sounds like a yes." The morning of the wedding smelled like rain and new beginnings. Atlanta was soft that day. Clouds low, light gentle, like the sky itself wanted to witness. Mama was fussing over my veil. "You sure you don't want diamonds, baby?" "I've had enough sharp things near me," I said. "Let's keep it simple." The dress wasn't white. It was gold, warm, honest. Heavy enough to remind me of everything I'd carried. When I looked in the mirror, I didn't see the girl people laughed at. I saw the woman who survived them. The doors opened, and music swelled. Marcus waited at the end of the aisle. No tuxedo theatrics, just a black suit, steady eyes. The same man who once told a room full of doubters to shut up and listen. When our eyes met, the world fell quiet again. Each step toward him felt like rewriting history. Every cruel word, every laugh, every night I thought I wasn't enough. It all stayed behind me, row by row. When I reached him, he whispered, "You ready?" I smiled. I was born ready. Took me a while to remember. The vows were simple. No promises of perfection, just partnership. He said, "You taught me that strength isn't volume, it's truth." I said, "You taught me that love isn't rescue, it's recognition." When the pastor pronounced us husband and wife, the applause rolled through the room like thunder breaking open the past. I didn't cry. I just breathed, and it felt like the first breath of my whole life. At the reception, people I hadn't seen in years came to congratulate me. Even Sade showed up, quiet, humbled. She hugged me and whispered, "I'm happy for you." And for the first time, I believed her. Marcus and I danced while the city lights came alive outside the windows. He leaned close, his breath warm against my ear. "You still think powerful men should wait?" I laughed. "Only when they're worth it." He grinned. Then I waited just long enough. Later, when the crowd thinned and the music slowed, I stepped out onto the terrace alone. The city stretched beneath me, glowing like forgiveness. Somewhere below, people were probably still talking. About the girl who wasn't supposed to make it. About the man who saw her before anyone else did. I didn't mind. Let them talk. I closed my eyes, felt the wind lift the edge of my veil, and whispered the only prayer I knew now. Let every girl who ever felt small remember this. They only laugh until you stand tall enough to look them in the eye. I turned back toward the ballroom, where Marcus was waiting, hand out, smile wide. And just before I took it, I looked once more at the skyline that used to make me feel invisible, and said quietly, "I'm not the quiet one anymore." The end.